We can try now.
Okay, okay. But let's get other persons.
I know it.
Yes, good. So let's get
Good afternoon, Leslie. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. I hear you loud and clear.
Good afternoon. Hello. And also we have Monica Isinova connecting. And thanks so much, first of all, for being here. We are just setting up the room and the audio. And we wanted just to make sure that you can hear as well. And we do hear you well here in the room. I will just ask Dr. Monica Isinova if she can hear us.
Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon, good evening from Nairobi, where I am attending a meeting.
Thank you so much, then. I will let you finish your meeting. Thanks so much. We hear you out and loud. And sorry again for the misunderstanding with I typed the time wrongly, but thanks so much for your understanding. And thank you. I think, yeah, it does work. If you want to connect again in 10 minutes time at 5 p.m., we will be ready to start. So thanks so much for now.
Thank you very much.
Dottor Venturi?
Sì, buongiorno.
No, grazie mille per esserci. Mi sente correttamente?
Sì, la sento bene. Per il momento sto provando col mio telefono, cerco di connettermi anche con il computer e comunque probabilmente avrò tutte e due connessi, giusto per evitare problemi.
Grazie mille. Per ora la sentiamo e la vediamo benissimo, quindi se non dovesse funzionare il computer, benissimo così.
Perfetto, la ringrazio.
Iniziamo fra una decina di minuti, volevamo solo verificare che funzionasse l'audio. Grazie.
Grazie a lei.
Fulduruma isaarra gad dhufe. Fulduruma isaarra
So welcome. Can we make a check?
Guarda qua, basta. Tutti gli altri muti.
Would you try in that?
Okay, let's make a second check. Okay, can you close the door, please? Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and a real and deep welcome from my side. I'm very excited to be here today and to have this, let's say, event, which deal with a couple of very important things for our chair. We are now celebrating today, we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of our UNESCO Chair. And today we would like to discuss what's on in terms of two topics, the sustainable and just transition and the role of scientific diplomacy. And we will deepen this topic together with a group of very interesting friends and colleagues. We will have the opinion, the voice of the United Nations system with Stefania Giannini, who will soon be with us. Stefania Giannini is well known in Italy. She was also a Minister of Research, and now she is Assistant Director General for Education. We will have the voice of the European Commission, and I really wish to thank Piero Venturi for joining us today, but we will also have the voice of the African Union. And I really would like to thank Monica Ebele for being with us today. Then we will have a short debate, a short panel discussion with 3 colleagues of us, which are Leslie Zakaria, as Secretary General of the Idea League. We will learn what Idea League is. We have an old knowledge and very old friend of Politecnico di Milano from Africa, Professor Israel da Silva from Kenya. He's Vice Chancellor of the University in Nairobi, Stratford University. And also Guido Zolezzi, who is a colleague of mine from University of Trento, Rector's Delegate for Cooperation and Development, and also representative coordinator of the Italian University Network for Development Cooperation. I'm also particularly happy to host Massimo Zaurini. He's the journalist, he's the one who will make the wrap up at the end of the discussion today. Massimo Zaurini is from Internazionalia, I never remember correctly the name, and they have a very interesting newsletter, a very interesting, let's say, edition magazine on Africa and business, let's say. So without further delay, I would like to introduce to you shortly the 10th year of the chair. I would like to thank Dr. Adeleke for working on this video, and also Emanuela Nebuloni for helping in the organization of today. Can we switch off the light? you, Ali, for organizing this video. I think it's very emotional because I've seen so many faces that have been with us over these 10 years. Some of them are still here and some of them now have left and are pursuing their career somewhere else. Just two small things to say before I give the floor to Stefania Giannini. Thank you, Stefania, for joining us. I know it's quite a busy week for you at UNESCO. Two messages. No man is an island. From the Meditation 17 of John Donne, who is an ancient poet, from UK. No man is an island. This is one of the things we have learned by pursuing this journey in 10 years. And the second one is we have to learn our limits. And this is from Blaise Pascal. We are all representing something, but none of us is everything. We represent the world. So just by learning, by doing, by listening, by being open to what we have lived over this year, we have recognized how partnerships are relevant. When we started in 2012, energy was not at the forefront of the agenda of the United Nations, but then it was ready to come. In the agenda 2015 was not including energy. Then we know that after 2015, with the Agenda 2030, energy is one of the goals. And what we have recognized in this journey is that, yes, there are a lot of technical elements inside the challenge of the energy transition, but most of the challenge are on the social perspective of this challenge. How an energy transition can be a just energy transition? How can we contribute by providing energy to the people, to their access to services and to their further development? We are not much interested in how many kilowatt hours we provide to the people, but with what we can do with these kilowatt hours, providing services and further development. And there is a role of science, there is a role of education in all of that. And I would like to give immediately the floor to Stefania Giannini for giving her key remarks on this perspective. Thank you, Stefania.
Thank you very much. A great pleasure, colleagues, Emanuela, to join all of you today. And first of all, happy anniversary. The 10th anniversary is a very important number of years. I was impressed by the video, which is clearly demonstrating the power of this UNESCO Chair network and how you are absolutely enshrining in your mission the UNESCO Chair's UniTwins values and the UNESCO mandate values. I will come later to this point, but let me first of all say that you could not have selected a more auspicious day as this morning. As you maybe know, we are celebrating here in Paris at UNESCO headquarters the 30th anniversary of UniTwin UNESCO Chair's program, with a conference on transforming knowledge for just and sustainable futures that runs for the next 2 days. A lot of colleagues coming from more than 110 countries, and we are very happy also that Federico Mayor, the visionary Director General, who was the ideator and the creator of this specific program, was connected with us from Madrid. So having said that, I wish to focus a little bit on some of the ideas that I was reflecting, just to share with you, not as a specialist, of course, of the subject the chair is focusing on, energy, so much on the front line, as you mentioned, of the UN roadmap, especially in these troubled times, but also just to put this experience you are having from Milan to the rest of the world, especially focusing on African countries in the big picture. So let me start with the conference we had this morning to celebrate the 30th anniversary. In a public lecture to mark this occasion, Achille Mbembe, a very well-known eminent scholar from the Wits University for Social and Economic Research in Johannesburg, who is here actually with us to celebrate with us, actually stated that the current instability and the uncertainty require a new form of intelligence, knowledge, new ways of learning and approaching disciplines. It was also mentioning we must accelerate a new planetary consciousness, which is about how to reimagine more sustainable futures together. And this was the impetus of the UNESCO Futures of Education report released last year that called for a new social contract for education based on a rethinking of our relationships to each other, technology, and the planet. And I think that your work is very much on each of these important strands. So to cut it short, a long story, the need for transformation is the thread running through every challenge we face today, and the key to building more sustainable, just, and inclusive future. Of course, the COVID-19 pandemic has amplified inequalities. We all know it made our fragility and interdependence all the more evident. The existential threat of climate change has brought our planet and humanity to a tipping point. We see every single day. And beyond that, the war in Ukraine now, the biggest threat to peace and security in Europe since the Second World War, that my generation as European citizen never thought it could happen. So in these troubled times, in this context, our only responsible choice to present and future generations is to change, is to transform, is to change course, harnessing all the knowledge and tools we have to cooperate and co-create better futures. Education, of course, has a foundational and strategic role to play. And today I will briefly focus on the responsibility of higher education and universities being on the front line to change and to transform society. The starting point for rethinking education is to build on two foundational principles. First, to consider the right to education as a right throughout life. This lifelong learning perspective, which, by the way, has been launched by UNESCO, a second important global report, the so-called Delors report, is simply essential still to cope with rapid change and navigate the green and digital transitions, which are some of the main actual and current challenges that governments are facing from different perspectives. Second, to strengthen education as a public endeavor and a common good. The pandemic still demonstrated that learning institutions were vital to society as access to healthcare. And the teachers in the classroom were a kind of heroes like medical doctors in the hospital. Higher education is part of this broader concept of the right to education and the public good. And it's very much strategic today for improving lives, for reducing inequalities, and to foster innovation. For university to fully play their role as institutions of learning, research, and service to society, they must, of course, continue to democratize access and knowledge. This is a bit the message which I wish to share from UNESCO with all of you today. Knowledge is not a commodity. It's a commons to be co-created and shared across borders in the interest of the common good. And this is exactly in this spirit of transformation that close to some 2,000 participants from more than 140 countries attended recently the third World Conference on Higher Education in Barcelona last May. I'm sure some colleagues from Polyme were also attending the meeting. And the ambition was to chart a more inclusive and collaborative course oriented around the daunting challenges of sustainable development. Every country needs investment in higher education to build their future, and systems are stronger when they offer accessible and quality learning opportunities at every stage. Unfortunately, it's not the case for all countries and regions of the world, as you are focusing, and I'm very happy to see that on EU-AU university cooperation. Let me stress the urgency to democratize access and to focus a little bit with some data that I'm sure you know on the divide between the educational divide between the south and the north of the world. Only 10% of African students, the region, by the way, with the world's fastest growing youth population, have access to higher education today, a figure set to skyrocket in the next decades with cascading consequences for funding, for provision, teaching faculty, quality assurance, and curriculum development. And this demands cooperation and collaboration to avoid brain drain and nurture indigenous autochthon talent and knowledge. Beyond this, the second imperative in every country now is to gear higher education study programs, research, and outreach around the stakes of sustainable development without excluding specialization. That of course it's important. If you want to deal with energy, you cannot have a background like myself in classical philology and linguistics. But beyond specialization, this implies breaking out silos to design what we call now transdisciplinary programs that give students a more, how say, holistic understanding of global issues they have to face as a professional in their future life, as individuals and citizens. It's about climate change, food security, biodiversity to protect the health of oceans, and so on. So such a shift of paradigm demands going the extra mile. And the extra mile is about recognizing and embrace the diversity of indigenous and traditionally excluded knowledge systems that offer different kinds of pathways toward sustainable solutions. There is no one truth, I mean, in a part of the world, and the rest of the world just looking at us and say, okay, that's the way to go. There is a real need, a urgent need to co-create solutions and to keep on board all those different kinds of wisdom and knowledge that we can put at the service of a common agenda. More than ever, let me say, we need both sciences and the humanities to strengthen democratic cultures, to nurture critical mindset, and to help students navigate complexity. You know, you are in Italy, I come from Italy, as you all know. It's the country of Leonardo da Vinci, who centuries ago, in the middle of Renaissance time, actually brought together these two sides of the same coin, which is about wisdom and knowledge. More than ever, we need also intellectual cooperation and solidarity. And this is about enlarging, expanding higher education systems where they will be needed most in the decades ahead to share knowledge and co-create solutions for society. There are some game changers here. I wish to mention a few of them. Of course, I can bring also UNESCO perspective. For instance, UNESCO's Convention on the Recognition of Qualifications and Degrees on Higher Education, which is the very first UN treaty in this field, was precisely designed to promote mobility and strengthen inter-university cooperation. And it only requires now 2 more ratifications to enter into force, since it has been approved by member states unanimously 2 years ago. Open science is another important recommendation that member states approved last year, and it's something that as researchers, as university professor, you put in practice every single day. But for us, it's important that we promote a culture of sharing scientific data and wider cooperation on data, which can bridge divides between regions and continents. Digital technologies carry the potential to multiply connection between research and common causes, but of course, digital connection and digital learning must be very much at the core of a human approach to digital transformation. So to go straight to the point, transforming education is a kind of urgent political imperative. I would say an ethical imperative, and there is a momentum to decide. As you maybe know, the Secretary General of the UN himself, Antonio Guterres, launched this movement for education, including universities in this picture, to transform this year. On the 19th of September, we are in New York with heads of states and governments to commit to transform their own education systems. And leading up, a consultation have been run at country level, and I'm sure you're happy to know that 40% of countries referenced in this national reports, universities as spaces for innovation, experimentation, and ideation. They need to transform their societies. And this is very much encouraging for us. I'm sure it's encouraging for you as a very active on the ground player in your chair, and must be supported to reinforce inter-university cooperation as the Unity in UNESCO program promotes in now more than 120 countries and through 850 chairs. So I concluded to say that higher education has an ethical and societal responsibility to open up society, to foster what we can call, Emanuela, an ecology of learning that can put together your hard sciences with my humanities, so to say, and bring universities on the front line of change for the common good we need. I wish you a real excellent conference, and once again, a happy anniversary to this UNESCO Chair in Energy for Sustainable Development.
Thank you.
All the best.
Your 30th anniversary, and we are so happy not to be with you today, and with all the Italian chairs that are also organizing a lot of meeting in this day. So thank you very much. I really, I know you have to go, so please don't worry when you have to go. We are so happy that you have been with us. I really appreciate a lot of points that you have mentioned. 3 of them are for us crucial. One is holistic education, and I think energy is really one sector in which we need this holistic education, because energy needs to be at the service of the people. It's not only an issue of technology, but as we said at the beginning of this conference, we really need to understand what is the long-term impact, positive and negative, of the use of energy in different ways. So I think this sector is one in which we really need holistic education, and some of my students that are in the room, they know how we try to go beyond the technological development per se. The second very important point is we have discussed a lot with some colleagues, and probably Professor Da Silva will mention it. Thank you for underlining the urgency to boost, especially in the African continent, the capacity of doing research, especially for outreach purposes. And I think this is an asset for, this should be an asset for African university, and this is where we are really working together with them. Probably both Israel and Leslie will say something about this. And the last point is long life learning. And I think this is also a place which is very important, especially for those who are also working in the academia, because we need to improve our knowledge and to update our knowledge, especially because the research field is changing every day. And this comes back to one of my, focal points, which is PhD education. I think I would like to come out from today with a further discussion with my colleague about the role that we could think to have to give to a potential joint Europe-Africa PhD. If we think to the many impacts that we have received out from the Erasmus, which has been done in Europe, across Europe at the master level, what could be the impact of a program Europe-Africa on PhD? I think to 10 years of such a program, and the cooperation, the partnership that may come out from such an amazing program. We are happy we have received an Erasmus Plus, which is start working on a joint Europe-Africa PhD at the level of the honors program. But then I hope that out of this program, we will be able to discuss further with you, Stefania, with the African Union and with the European Commission to start thinking to a next step for the PhD education. Thank you again for staying with us. Okay, so now we have mentioned the African Union, and when we think about energy, and we think about, we speak about the energy transition, we cannot avoid to mention the challenge of the African continent, where we know still we have a problem of access to energy from one side, but from the other side, we know that it's a rich country in terms of resources, it is a rich country in terms of raw materials, and many other opportunities. So now the floor is on the Europe and Africa side with both Monica and Piero. So please, Piero, I don't know who's coming first of you or Monica?
Well, we didn't agree on order, so I maybe following the program. I'm going to start. Well, first of all, thanks for your kind invitation, Emanuela, and also from my side, happy birthday to the UNESCO Chair. I would like to start to elaborate a little bit the concept on science diplomacy. Science diplomacy is the direct or indirect use of science and scientific knowledge to advance diplomatic goals. This can be done at the global level. So we think about the science development goals. We think about the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change with its essential assessments. And then also it serves common diplomatic goals that can be regional. We think, for example, about the All Atlantic Ocean Research and Innovation Alliance. That is a strong alliance linking together US, Europe, Brazil, South Africa, with the aim to study the biology, the physics of the oceans. Or we think about PRIMA. PRIMA is an essential platform for studying agriculture all over the Mediterranean, putting together stakeholders from Africa and from Europe. Or it can serve at national level. If we think about all the work program, all the roadmap that are published nowadays from the most advanced countries all over the world, in Europe, in Africa. And then we use it also at the European Union level. We can think about the Global Gateway, that it's the European answer to the Chinese Belt and Road platform. Or, for example, the work we are doing on the raw material for strategic technologies. Basically, we can divide science technology in three big strands, and we have to say that the European Union is present in any of them. We can say that we have science for diplomacy, so the use of science to build bridges between nations. And in this case, we can think, for example, about the work of CERN in Switzerland, or the work that is done in Vienna by the Institute for Applied System Analysis, or SESAM. SESAM is the synchrotron that is present in Jordan, as is a unique example where we have Israeli, Iranians, and Arabs working together on the same project. And I think this is really unique. Then we have diplomacy for science. So the use of diplomacy to foster international scientific cooperation. And in this case, we have to think all the agreement on science and technology that we have between countries, between regions. As a European Union, for example, nowadays we have an agreement with Russia, with China, and this is a kind of bridge that we try to keep open also in these difficult moments. And then we have science in diplomacy. Science in diplomacy is the use of science to inform and advise foreign policies. And in this case, we have to think about all the work providing advices. So science advisors that was at the beginning, it was really an Anglo-Saxon invention. We had in America, now in US, the science advisor to the president, then also in the Anglo-Saxon countries, and now it's becoming all over a very, very common position. In the European Commission, we don't have at present a science advisor, but we have the Joint Research Center that is the in-house center to provide policy advices to our politicians. To provide, science advisors to our politicians. And then we have also the diplomacy in science. So we have to take into account also what is happening, for example, with the Chinese interferences in American universities, or the Russians that are no more participating to our framework program. So all of these activities are are activities where the European Commission is deeply present. And then we have to take into account that also in science, we have political challenges and the global crisis because of this new system, as Professor Giannini mentioned before, and a system where all we are interconnected. No need to mention the COVID pandemic or Russia-Ukraine war and climate change issues. We have also to take into account that we are in what we considered post-naive science diplomacy. Why? Because as the European Union, we have been in the past very, very naive. We had the concept of open to the world, so everyone was very welcome. We were keen to share our knowledge, supporting the idea to solve altogether problems. And well, this has been very successful in many situations, but in some other, we have been extremely naive. So we have to take into account that that we have also to consider the European sovereignty, and we need to tackle the RNI foreign interferences that we find in Europe. That said, I want to mention that I'm the science counselor, EU science counselor for the African Union. This is not really a very uncommon job. We calculate that Europeans have around 500 science counselors all over the world, including all the what we call Team Europe. So all the work that is carried out by European countries all together. So, and my work basically is essential. Essential. It's important to interact with the African Union, and taking into account that we have a 10-year-old platform, the high-level policy dialogue on science and technology, that is an essential platform where we participate together with the African countries and the European countries, defining long-term policies for the common advantages of the two continents. On this purpose, I would like to say that 2 years ago, we set up the first RNI, Research and Innovation Ministerial, with the participation of African and European ministers, where we define 4 main areas of cooperation. I would like to mention them: public health, green transition, where obviously it's included also the area on energy. Then we have another one on innovation and technology, and the last one on capacities for science. All our cooperation in these 4 areas is obviously supported at scientific level through 4 platforms. The first one is what we call EDCTP, that is dealing with public health and specifically with clinical trials between Europe and Africa. We have calls every 6 months practically, where we offer the opportunity to Africans and Europeans to work together, participating to our program. Then we have 2 platforms in the area of green transition. One is very well established, is dealing with food security and sustainable agriculture. We, for the moment, allocated a budget of more than 700 million euros in a long period to this specific platform, while we have also a younger one on climate change and renewable energies, where we allocated for the moment 100 million euros. And then the newest one is the one on innovation. So we set up in the last year a very ambitious program that we called Innovation Agenda. You can find any information on the web, where we ask the support of experts, of scientists to have a clear vision about short, medium, and long-term objective of our initiative that basically is aiming to create an ideal ecosystem where innovators, startuppers, scientists can work together from Africa and Europe, creating ideas, creating synergies, creating solutions for the benefit of our common society. And on this purpose, I would like to say that we are planning a big event, 23rd, 24th of November in Nairobi, where we aim to put together in person and virtually the key players in this area. So you are all, well, I know that Professor Colombo will be attending, and obviously you are all very, very welcome to participate. Well, last but not least, I would like to mention that we have an Africa initiative in our work program, Horizon Europe, where we aim to create a set of topics focused on Africa on a regional and technical level. We had already a first experience with our work program 21-22 with a budget around 350 million euros. But we will publish the 28th of November a new batch with a budget between 200-250 million euros with new topics. That say, I want to conclude mentioning the role of academia in all of this. Obviously, the role of academia is essential. It's a huge contribution to our research, to our cooperation between the two components, and also at capacity building level. I mean, no doubt that it's playing a huge role, taking into account also programs that has Erasmus Plus that has been mentioned before, but also the Marie Sklodowska-Curie action. I think that's all from my side. I leave the floor to my colleague Monica from the African Union, and thanks for the attention.
Thank you very much.
Can I take the floor?
Please, Monica, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Piero, and thank to everyone. It is indeed a great pleasure and honor for me on behalf of my Director for Education, Science, Technology, and Innovation, Mr. Hambani Mashalini, to participate in this symposium that marks the 10th year anniversary of the establishment of the chair. I want to join my voice to say congratulations and thank you for inviting the African Union Commission to share with you this very remarkable day. At some point, I may have to turn off my videos because the network here is very weak. So with your permission, please, I would like to turn it off.
Please do that, Monica.
Okay. So speaking on the theme, EU-AU partnership for a common agenda, the role of the academia. First, I would like to acknowledge here that, that Europe is one of the Africa's strongest partner. You know, we have had a rich and fruitful past and even in the present, which is reflected in the extensive web of bilateral and multilateral relationships and activities in higher education and also in the sector of science, technology, and innovation, as well as also in development of qualifications framework for the continent. Now, going back to the history lane, in 2010, an African EU Science, Technology, and Innovation High-Level Policy Dialogue, which we call HLPD, was started involving member states from both continents and supported by both the African Union Commission and the European Union Commission, you know, to strengthen the overall cooperation framework. And so through, you know, adopting a coherent approach to the implementation of education, science, technology, and innovation, and also to define some common priorities for our future collaboration. So to date, roadmaps have been developed, like Piero rightly indicated. Within this partnership, we have developed 3 roadmaps. The first is on food and nutrition security and sustainable agriculture. And the second one is the EU is also on climate change and sustainable energy. And the most recent one is the EU-AU Innovation Agenda which currently we are still working on, and like alluded by Piero, we're going to have the stakeholder event very shortly in 2 weeks' time here in Nairobi. I would say that for us at the Commission, we sincerely acknowledge that within the partnership, some of the programs that we have jointly implemented have also generated very tangible outputs that contributes to the knowledge economy in Africa, and I also suppose so also for Europe. So our joint cooperation is a direct and very innovative way for us at the Commission to implement our Agenda 2063, which is the Africa that we want, but also to contribute to the implementation of the various sectoral strategies that we have for the continent, like the Continental Education Strategy for Africa and the Science, Technology and Innovation Strategy for Africa 2024. So coming down to some of the things that we have jointly implemented. The first is the Awards for Scientific Excellency, which was launched by the African Union in 2009 to promote scientific development in Africa through the recognition of excellency among African scientists, women, men, and young researchers, mainly from the universities. This, since its inception, has awarded over 80 given over 80 awards to African distinguished scientists to further empower them. Then the second area that we have had collaboration is within the African Union Research Grant Program, which allows researchers from both Europe and Africa to jointly address issues of common interest. And to date, a total of over 28 million euros have been disbursed to over 39 lead institutions, mainly universities, who are also in collaboration, a network of over 185 other institutions. So it is important for us to note that the networks, that has been formed within the African Union Research Grant are mainly from the universities, and this has enabled the involvement of several African countries and universities to jointly contribute to the implementation of Agenda 2063 through research. I must also say here that, that our program has enabled the establishment of a South-North collaboration. It has also built capacities for researchers and enabled technology transfer and the setting of research standards. Another key area of our cooperation is in the area of global monitoring for environment and security and Africa, the GMS and Africa Initiative, which is the crystallization of the long-standing cooperation between Africa and Europe in the area of space science and technology. The rationale of this sustained cooperation was to address the growing needs of African countries to assess and use Earth observation data for the implementation of sustainable development policies on the continent. So in the long run, it was to enable the two continents to jointly solve and address global challenges and contribute to the attainment of their overarching development goals, which includes our Agenda 2063 and also the Sustainable Development Goals. In the area of higher education, our cooperation with Europe has a strong focus on supporting continental approaches that feed to the regional integration process in Africa, notably through harmonization of education systems and quality assurance, mutual recognition of qualifications, sharing of best practices, and facilitating mobility and exchanges. There is really a strong demand from universities across the globe and Europe, especially to strengthen the capacities and tools provided to the African counterparts with whom they have a long-standing relationship. Europe has a unique experience in harmonization of education programs at continental level, and it is our hope that this experience could also be used, continuously be used in the African continent. Also, existing initiatives in higher education that helps us to deliver upon our priorities of Agenda 2063 and the continental education strategy for Africa. These initiatives have helped us to deliver on these strategies and also helping us to facilitate the objectives of the African free trade that has just been created. Now, to conclude, I would like to reiterate that the joint initiatives has embedded mechanisms not only to build capacities of institutions, but also creating platforms to facilitate the contribution of African expertise and know-how, meaning the African universities, research institutions, and other social partners, in a collaborative platform to implement initiatives. On this note, I will once again want to thank the organizers for inviting the African Union Commission, and as usual, we remain committed to the AU-EU joint efforts in the area of education, science, technology, and innovation. And thank you again.
Thank you very much again, Piero and Monica, because I think we have tackled one of the points which are very relevant today. You have described to us more than 10 years of cooperation between Europe and Africa on science, technology, and innovation. And I know how much this is well known around those who are already embedded in the system. Our chair is already part of the CCSE, as we are working on the LIPARI project, which is one of the flagship projects of the European Commission in that sense. Also, I will be participating in a couple of weeks from now in Nairobi to the stakeholder forum of the innovation agenda. But I don't know how many out of this group of people are aware of the long-term cooperation on science, technology, and innovation, which is creating a new way of approaching the partnership, more a peer-to-peer approach rather than something else, which was probably which we go back to look in the previous year. So thank you very much for stressing how this partnership is really working on the urgency that we have: health, food and agriculture, food security and agriculture, climate change and sustainable energy, and also capacity for science. And I think this is really the place where the Europe-Africa partnership can do more. And I'm really happy to join you in a couple of weeks from now. So thank you again for your contribution. Now we start the panel session. Let's say we go a little bit more deep into the discussion on the peculiarities, the potential, and then the possibility of the role of academia, the role of science diplomacy into the just transition. And I'm again super happy to have with me three friends, Guido, Leslie, and Israel. I would like to start, if I may, Guido, with you. I have learned that today is a kind of birthday, so I make it easy. It's not a conference. And in a birthday, you have your friends. And I think we have a long history in common. I mean, we started when we were young as Engineers Without Borders, the beginning of 2000. Then you also, and myself, we started an academic career. You have a UNESCO Chair yourself. You are Rector's Delegate of Cooperation of the University of Trento. You are an engineer. So I think we have a lot of things in common. You are more focused on water and I'm more focused on energy, but we deal with resources. You are now also the coordinator of the Italian network of university engaged in cooperation and development. And it's very important that you also represent this network because, as it has been mentioned by Stefania, we cannot work alone in this complexity. So each university can bring a piece of the story, but then the big outcome comes out when we work in partnership. And I think that this network, which exists since 2007, is a very important one. So I would like to give you the floor to hear from you. What are the peculiarities of the contribution that the academia can bring in the big discussion about the just transition?
Thank you very much, Emanuela. Hello, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be part of this roundtable in this very special event. And so thanks also for the invitation, of course. And I think that your introduction about how we have some kind of parallel stories in the academia pointed out at least two elements that I wanted to focus on in this respect. So how the academia can contribute to just and sustainable transition. One is continuity. We are mentioning that we know each other since a long time, and we have been working on a path from engineering without borders to an academic career, and then to the, let's say, finding ways to harmonize the technological dimensions and the technological background that we have with the main challenges that, as you were saying and other people were remarking, are not strictly on the technical ground, but involve the interaction with the broader context. Academia, universities, in my experience, also when I see other universities, not only our working in partnership, in North-South partnership, academia and university build long-lasting relation, or can build very long-lasting relation, can give continuity. We know that when we speak about development, and development is about change, achieving change and making it durable in the long run, so in a sustainable perspective, requires continuity and long-term relations. And universities, I think we have in our DNA the ability to, and also the conditions to build long-lasting relations. So one way in which the academia can contribute in that is really continuity in long-term relations, and not only between individual colleagues in different universities, but as you were mentioning, with some example from the projects that your chair is running and coordinating, also through, let's say, structured projects and programs that ensure this possibility. Sometimes these relations risk to remain only within academics, but when it's about impact on development, many of these relations, by their nature, are also built with a strong interaction with the local context, with entrepreneurships, with companies, with the industry, and also with thinking of especially water issues, also with regional, local, and national government institutions who are in charge for managing water, maybe at the country level. And so when I think we should find ways to better exploit and to reinforce continuous relations, and let's say use academia and the capacity of academia of often ensuring the liaison between stakeholders, thanks to their to the ability, to the what is, I think, in our DNA, the capacity to keep long-term relations. This is, I think, is one important one focus point. A second point is about students. In our experience, I'm thinking of many experiences in our UNESCO Chair, and in which we had students from our university and from a local university in many African countries, also in Southeast Europe, in the Balkans especially, working together on a project, in a, let's say, project-based course, and students had I had excellent memories of this, and I saw really a very high added value when students from different cultures come to work together on a project and discover, so put all their energy. We also have a lot of energy, but young people probably have more energy than us. And students are very much motivated to seek for the practical implications of what they study. Often our higher education, especially in Italy, we have a strong theoretical focus, which is a strength point. But especially in the last years of the degrees, students really are really hungry of practical implications, practical activities, understanding how they can put into practice their work. And when they work in international cooperation for development, of course, this becomes immediately apparent. And when they partner, when they work peer-to-peer with students from a local context, coming from a different culture, I think the relation becomes very strong, and also their potential, their motivation in going beyond the simple technical part of the solution, but understanding more the contents and how this can be sustainable and promote, in the end, promote change, is really a very strong driving force. Yes, I think these are 2 points. Maybe I'm not covering all the points, but continuity and students and young generations are really 2 elements in which, in my opinion, the academia can bring into this discourse, into this issue, and on which we should build for the just transition.
Thank you, Guido. I'm very much young, and I have to admit, I have to admit, I will contradict tomorrow morning, but now I admit that we have learned a lot from our students. Now some of the students are also my colleagues, they cooperate with us, but by being able to listen to their capacity and energy, as you said, I think we can do a step ahead in the easiest way or fastest way. So thank you for those of you who are here with me today. Professor Da Silva, Israel.
Yes.
I go back straight to Nairobi. I don't know if you are in Nairobi now because you are quite a crazy flying person. So if you are in Nairobi, we are happy to hear from you. I want to be a bit provocative with you, as usual, because I think you are in the position to say something on this point. You are, I mean, Strathmore University is really a pioneering university of cooperation with the European University. You are in a number of European projects. You are working with a number of Italian European stakeholders, public and private. I mean, really quite a great job you did in the energy sector. But I would like to hear from you, what are the points of attention when we have to establish, and when we try to establish a Europe-Africa partnership? Because when we talk about partnership, everything seems fine. But then when we work on a daily basis, we know that there are some criticisms, because there are differences, cultural differences, and many others. And often, you know better than me, our culture try to avoid to speak of, unsuccessful story. We prefer to mention all the success that we have. And we forget sometimes to learn from some of the failure or the criticism that we may encounter. So I think you are in the perfect position as Vice Chancellor Strathmore University to mention also some of these elements that we need to pay attention on when we wish to establish a cooperation, a long-term cooperation on science and technology between European and African institutions.
Okay, Professor Emanuela, congratulations for the 10 years anniversary. I must tell you all, she already knows that Emanuela's UNESCO Chair position inspired me some time back to also apply for a UNESCO Chair for Strathmore University. And yeah, about a year ago, on the 18th of November, last year, I got to be appointed UNESCO Chair for Climate Change and Sustainability. So we were already working with Professor Emanuela Colombo because we have a project called Open Africa Power, which is supported by Enel Foundation, and is bringing together Polytechnic of Milano, which is the alma mater of Professor Emanuela, and also Polytechnic of Torino, and many other universities, including here in Africa, Strathmore, the Technical Center for Ethiopia, and then also the University of Cape Town in South Africa. So I really, Prof, I think you are right. We've been working together with some wonderful partners in Europe, just as apart from the ones I already mentioned. We also been working with Eddie Brown in Loughborough University, with Professor Onesimus in Imperial College, and we also have something with La Sapienza, Professor Andrea Micangeli, and all the time it is the idea of making people's life be better by implementation of renewable energy. You know, everybody knows, everybody says the number that close to 700 million people in Africa have no access to electricity. And this 700 is almost the whole population of Europe. We in Strathmore, because we became kind of a center of excellence in renewable energy and energy efficiency, we actually have some partnership with other universities which send people here for doing their master's final research work or PhD. And once a young man from Technical University of Munich came, he's called Strasser, and he was 28 years old, did a wonderful job, and now he's working on his PhD. But I asked him, Strasser, how many times have you experienced a power cut? And he said, none. In 28 years, he had never experienced a power cut. Now here in Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, we experience it almost every day. So it is a tragedy that 700 million people in Africa have no access to affordable and clean and reliable energy, which is the SDG number 7. So since I came from Brazil, I'm a Brazilian, since I came to Africa, has been the little thorn pinching how to get more people to have access to energy. Because if you have electricity, you can do value addition, you can preserve your food, you can do water pumping and irrigation, you can get safe water for human consumption. It is a transformation. You can do so many things that without electricity, it's just impossible. So I like doing this comparison, comparing the situation of Africa today. This is a continent with 54 countries, and the population of these 54 countries put together is 1.2 billion people, and counting, because women in Africa, they have children and they love it, and we love that they love it. So we keep growing, no? So I know in some countries in Europe, you have problems because you are not even replacing the number of people in your country, which means soon we may lose that nice culture. And like I think of a lot of nice things in Germany, but then as the Germans are reducing, eventually, yeah, we also lose some things like Oktoberfest and stuff. But then here, what we did, and this I give credit to Prof. Emanuela, who actually has been turning her eyes towards the South, and helping us to work together. And I would say, Prof, successful, you know, because what happens is that this thing that I said, 1.2 billion people, 54 countries, and an economy which is smaller than the economy of France. France with 66 million people, and with a small country, it's not a big country. They have a GDP which is $2.7 trillion. And here is 2.6. So we need to do something. And I believe we have to do it by training people in all levels. PhD, yes, because there is big impact in doing, developing new products for energy, renewable energy in Africa. Masters, equal. We got some good funds from the British government, and with the help of University of Cape Town, we developed a master's here called Sustainable Energy Transition. So beautiful. We got 11 people in the first cohort, 16 on the second, and I think if you pray next year, we shall be adding another 50, because it's like preparing them to take up the challenge of bringing the universal access to electricity to the whole of this continent. Yeah, Prof. Colombo began this conversation here by saying that no man is an island. It's true. And also, no country is an island. You have to work together. There is a lot of power in synergy. Yeah, and we love to put together Africans and Europeans. In Lipiri, we have been working with 84 institutions, like 40 in Europe and 40 in Africa, and it has been successful. We have been achieving things. So, like one of my dreams now, Prof, you know, is to have the Florence School of Regulation beginning to train people here in Africa and setting up eventually a school of regulation in this continent, because we don't have one. I know you have one in Florence, you have another in, I think, Torino, and I know there is some other there on the sides of Germany, but in Africa we have none. So we need to join this thing that you already have there, decentralization, decarbonization, and digitalization. So we really need to work together. And we don't want to say, okay, baby, come here, I'll help you. No, 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 no. We work in pair. We are equals, and we have knowledge, and in some things you know more than us, and some things we know more than you, and both profit. So that is it. Now this universities, beautiful ones up there with very nice budgets, but also for us it works. Yeah, we charge $5,000 for a whole year in a degree in engineering, and it works. Yeah, it does work. So Stephanie, we shall be meeting in Egypt, yes, and they put me in this Council for Engineers for the Energy Transition under Geoffrey Sachs. We have a message to tell the world when we get there. So all these things, I feel, is going to change this planet. And then I believe that come 2050, when there will be 2.5 billion Africans and 10 billion people on Earth, of every 4 human being, one is an African. We have to train that one. And a lot of ladies to train ladies engineers, and then the IT experts and business experts and lawyers for the universal access to electricity. And if you give them the ability to do things, they will do, and they have been doing wonderful things. In my 25 years in Africa, I have known so many people, super bright, super competent, and who I really feel humbled working with them. Prof, happy birthday.
Thank you very much, Isabel. You have convinced me that partnerships are nice, as usual, but you have not answer to my provocative question. I will keep it fine.
No, I actually if you allow me, let me answer, because this is important. You see what happens once I went to it was Norway. Yeah, I was in Oslo, and then I was living in Uganda. And then I went there and I said something which was not proper. I told people there, says, look, the Ministry of Energy in Uganda doesn't quite understand me. So I finished my presentation. I came down, a certain lady came and told me, Da Silva, let me tell you one thing. Good people are everywhere. Find them, work with them. And this is what I have been doing successfully for 25 years. There are people who are really unable to deliver. They frustrate you. They overpromise and underdeliver. They talk, they do nothing. So these are my friends. I drink beer with them, but I don't work with them. I create around myself an island of sanity, and I bring in good people. They are there. I find them, I work with them.
Have in mind a couple of people.
Don't say.
Thank you very much again.
Welcome.
Leslie, yeah, okay. Back to you. Sorry for keeping you the last in the round, but I really am curious to hear from you. You are the Secretary General of a network of university, European network of university, Chalmers, Aachen, Delft, ETH, Politecnico di Milano, and less I forgot. No, I mentioned all of them. I know that even this group of university is thinking a lot on pushing education on sustainable development in Europe, but also, looking a little bit outside the border of Europe, because I know that you have started an expert working group, aiming to work with African universities. So can you tell us a bit more about this, about all of this? I mean, also your interest in science and education, because all of the 5 universities that I mentioned are technical universities.
Yeah, thank you, Emanuela. Yes, I represent 5 leading European universities of technology. And as such, we recognize that universities have a big role to play in moving towards the sustainable development goals, and universities of technology in particular, because I cannot name any facet of our modern society that is not affected by developments in technology. So we have a big role to play. And well, we at the Idea League, we work together and have been working together across borders in Europe for the last 20 years, simply because we believe that by connecting the best minds, the brightest people, allowing them to exchange their ideas, it fosters and inspires innovation. And this is what we want to do. So yeah, why do we want more of that? It's because we want more sparks, more innovation. We want also more pathways in order to create this movement towards a better future. We want to capitalize on the different strengths, and we want to capitalize on the different relationships that we've built up over the years. So, and the shared legacies we have in working across borders. So I think that this is what the crux of the Idea League is all about. And you know that with this working group, we have been extremely energetic, and we really want to start to push boundaries together. And this is why we've started our working group. I think the key here is that, well, it's said that if you want to go fast, you have to go alone. But if you want to go far, then you have to go together. And this is what the Idea League is trying to do now. They're trying to see how we can get there together. And it's a little bit frustrating sometimes because it doesn't go fast when you're together, but you will go very far. And that's what we're hoping for, Emanuela.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Leslie. I think it's true. I mean, there is always a small price to pay when you go together, which sometimes it means, taking a little bit more of time, because I remember, Guido, I think you remember as well, when we start working in the network of the Italian university, we had also to establish a language, because I have seen a few minutes ago, there was Giambattista Parigi with another colleague of us from University of Pavia. He's a doctor. So we were engineers, doctor, economists, and all these kind of people talking together about development using different language. So it took a little bit of time at that time to start working at the same level, be able to understand each other. But now, after long time, long pathways, we are going fast because we know each other. The issue of continuity that Guido has already mentioned. And also, I think, Leslie, this is something that will happen with a group of the Via University, which is setting up. I mean, we took this couple of years. We have never met because due to the pandemic situation, but we will go fast because we have won this very interesting ambition project, and I'm super happy that we will start working. Now we have 10 minutes. Final party. If you agree, we can take 1 minute, 1 minute and a half each to say. Piero mentioned 3 levels of science for diplomacies, but I would like to focus on science in diplomacy. So let's try to play the game of advisor of the European Commission, the African Union, the UNESCO, whoever it is. What are the most important things, elements, 1 or 2, on which we would like to see, for instance, what Piero and Monica has mentioned, the fourth topic, which is capacity for science, be focused on. What is the most important things we have in mind now, based on our experience, that we would like to suggest to them to add to this future capacity building innovation agenda that they may design in the next year? I would like to start with Guido.
Yes, it's not an easy question, but the keyword that comes to my mind is motivation. Thinking especially not only of students, but also of young researchers coming into science. I think that there are 2 issues that can boost motivation. First of all, why motivation? Because I don't think there is, let's say, an Einstein by DNA, but I think we all know that a motivated student can achieve really great outputs, great results. And when this comes to a network or comes to scientists that do a little bit, step a little bit outside of the purely academic world and start working with different actors, local actors, industry, local governments, then motivation becomes so important, because it can allow to foster the ability of people coming from academia in diplomacy. And so, which means to me, for example, at the local level, interacting with multiple stakeholders. And so, and for supporting motivation, there could be different ways. And one was recalled by Stefania Giannini in the beginning, I think. So valuing how locally, how different cultures have their perspective on research, on science, so valuing local knowledge systems. And I think also Israel was somehow recalling this. We work peer-to-peer as scientists, and we partner with other institutions. We work also as in diplomacy when we get out of the academia, and this can create, supporting motivation from valuing both cultural perspectives, or the cultural perspectives of all involved actors is very important. So when designing programs in this direction, I would think that besides the economical conditions, investments, to avoid brain drain, to facilitate participation in research in low and middle income countries, valuing the local perspective on research and science for diplomacy is a key point.
Thank you, Guido. Needs-driven research and the research that is based on multi-stakeholder engagement. I think these two elements are something we could suggest.
Yeah.
This can push motivation and passion out of other things. Israel.
Yes.
I ask you to be short, sorry.
Okay. Well, what I think I have experienced is that I need action. I think what inspires people is when you do things and you get things done. In fact, they say that you know the tree by the fruits, you know. So it is important always when we are working in the university, we are pushing papers for peer-reviewed journals, we are trying to do partnership. The essence is it touching lives? Is it changing people's life? Is it getting something which is measurable? If the answer is no, that individual has joined a group which I don't like, called NATO, no action, talk only. And you know, that is cheap. So action, just check what have you done with your life over the last 10 years or 5 years. Those are the fruits, and that's where I gauge you, and I gauge myself as well.
Thank you for saying this. This is a big debate between me and Dr. Adeleke about the publication and so on, but it's another topic. Okay, Leslie.
Well, I completely agree with Israel, and I think that we should be focused.
Welcome to my club.
I really think we should have to stop the talking and the philosophizing and start to create more affordable technologies that bring everybody to a better and more compassionate future.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I think this is also, I mean, this is really something we agree on. I was debating a little bit about the issue of publication, you know, because in a research institution, especially in some country like in Italy, Guido is perfectly aware, you have also to do some publication, Prof, in order to progress in your career. Otherwise, it's a mess. But I agree with you. We need to learn how to measure both things, the practical action that ones do and also the publication. So, Massimo, we have done the party, and now you have to clean up the room. So, it's to you, you're the journalist. So now we are.
I'm a journalist, and I'm not a scholar, I'm not coming from academia. So it was very interesting for me to listen to all of your intervention. But let me be the bad guy. You know, I have listened to all that you said. But I know a big part of you, so we know each other. It's a lot of years. We have met during your work by Israel, if you remember. But I would like to start with a question, and going back to how Emanuela started. If no man is an island, looking at your work from outside, I ask myself sometimes if university are an archipelago of islands. I will explain a little bit better what I want to say. You know, in my work, I deal with Africa and economy, institutions, politics at all levels, national level, Italian and international, European and beyond. And I know very well that you have these islands, these archipelagos islands, a very strong and linked connection. But what about the political world? So I'm not talking about the multilateral projects that you work on, but really when the political world has to take decision on things so important as just and sustainable transition, do they call you? Or do they listen to your work? I think that this really is very, very important. Just and then I give you the floor. If I look to energy transition, okay, we are going out with the next issue of our magazine of November will be dedicated to energy in Africa. Less than 1 year ago, we had another issue dedicated to energy that's completely different, because 1 year ago we were telling people about the worries of African politicians for the green transition, the green taxonomy, and the stop to all natural gas research at the international level. Now we have people that is running to develop natural gas, oil and gas. So you know perfectly what I'm talking about. The hypocrisy of Europe was blatant to everyone. So,
all right.
Go easy.
Yeah, you see what happens is that in order to get things done, in order to have an impact in society, which is wide and deep and long-lasting, you need three stakeholders. You need the private sector, you need the public sector, the government, and the developing agencies together, and you need academia. So this is the so-called triple helix. Each one of these three stakeholders can do things that the other two cannot. And when they put their heads together and their hands together to achieve some common goal, they can do wonders. One example of it is Silicon Valley in the United States. The government says, okay, free land for you, 5 years holidays on tax for import things, bring your machines, and then VAT exemption in your products. Creates a fantastic soft landing. Obviously, people comply. Microsoft comes, and Apple comes, and IBM, and Lenovo, and you name it, they come there. And then they say, wow, we need brains. Where do we find brains? Of course, they go to Carnegie Mellon, to Caltech Academy, they go to Berkeley, they go to MIT, you name it. Bring those big brains there. Now, they work together to get fantastic things like my iPhone 13, Now, at the end, everybody profits because the government who made all those kind of inverted commas investment or gave for free is the day they launched iPhone 14, I think you got like 60 million units sold, money go to United States. And then there are people making money there, the private sector people and the people in the university who went there now develop some policies, and they have very nice, how would I say, findings and new things and developments that they go back and to teach back to Carnegie Mellon, back to Caltech, back to HC. So everybody profits. And the good news is it is replicable. If we put together academia, private sector, and government together to solve the problem of universal access to electricity in Africa, we will succeed, and you will see it in your days. You are very young, so you will see it, that this continent is going to be the continent of the future because people work together in their different idiosyncrasies and they achieve things because it is replicable. In fact, Silicon Valley is the second producer of things in computers because Bangalore in India is the one who is doing more and is a copy of that one.
Can I complement one couple of comments? One is that, Prof, we've already had this debate. I think we have to add civil society. I mean, we have to talk about the quadruple helix approach, because especially when we do not deal with pure technological innovation, but we deal with issues that are somehow related to the, let's say, to the life of the daily life of the people, like energy, like water, and so on and so forth, I think the civil society can bring a contribution. So we prefer to talk about the quasi-pelix approach. But I would like to grasp your provocation, your provocative issue, saying that we as academia, we have a little step ahead to do. You have, both you, Isabel and Leslie, you have both mentioned the needs of doing action. And that's for sure very urgent. But we also need to go beyond that. We need to do a lot of actions, but then out of this action, we need to be able to distill some, let me call them good practice, or some policy advice that then we are able to report to the policymaker. Otherwise, we will not close the loop. We stay in our academia, we do our action, we are happy with our action, we made our publication, we got our patent, whatever, but we don't close the loop and we don't provide knowledge at an upper level, which is the knowledge that could inform the policymaking process. That, I think, is science in diplomacy. And I think it's one of the issues on which
I would like to underline, really, as you have to take my words as external observer, but all the words that I listened today, your intervention, are the good ones. Foster mobility, holistic approach, peer-to-peer, collaboration. So you have the right pathway. And yes, we have to lobby university activity in politics.
We are not doing enough, I think.
All of us. I'm talking also from our part, on the media, refer to academia, like.
No.
I know. We will start a collaboration next year, and you have been going after us for the last 2 years for that, but it's correct. And no, I was really impressed from all the thing that you said, and I would like to talk to the guys, the students that are here, because I think when we talk about Africa, you have to think that Africa will be more relevant to your future than it was to us. When I had your age, China was something very far for us, for our generation. And probably some of you now can feel Africa as something very far from his life. I can assure you, because in 30 years, this can change. This will change for Africa. This will change. It's not can, will.
Very well. I like Giambattista Parigi, a comment in the chat. Vision without action is a daydream. Action without vision is a nightmare. Good one.
Giamba, you cannot stay silent in an event of us. Thank you for being with us. Giambattista Parigi is a colleague of us, rector's delegate to cooperation, let's say, for University of Pavia. He's a doctor, unfortunately. He's not an engineer.
No. I'm a surgeon, please. I'm a surgeon.
Very good.
Do you have anything to say, Giamba? I know you have.
Be careful in telling me you have anything to say, because you have to stay for the next couple of hours. I've just only say 3 words. My philosophy on international cooperation. The philosophy of the 3 S: strategy, synergy, sustainability. You must have a strategy. You cannot enter at spot. You have a general strategy. Synergy, you must work with other people. You cannot work on yourself, and you quoted all the people, all the stakeholders that can be involved. Sustainability, all of your activities must be sustainable in time. What Guido spoke about continuity, but is also the sustainability. I was back, I'm sorry, from another continent. I came back yesterday from Salvador, and we are starting a huge project with the embassy in Salvador, therefore science and diplomacy, and what can be done by the academia together with all these things is absolutely important. This is an extremely important thing. I stop here because I spoke far too much. Thanks for all your inputs.
Thank you very much, Giamba. Thank you very much. Yeah, only one comment. This is the proof that the Cooks network is working, because more or less the things that you have said has been also mentioned by Guido, and I'm really happy that we have been working together for such a long time in Italy. Adi, anything to say?
Well, thank you very much. I'd like to.
He has two gadgets on.
I'll tend to be very, very brief.
Come here. You have to close your microphone. Niente.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'll attempt to be very brief. I really agree with some of the points that we began to discuss towards the last end of the program, which is talking about the question you asked about the disconnect between science and policy. And it was asking whether while do the politicians reach out, I would take it on the reverse side. The scientists, of course, we're going to appeal to the government to reach out to scientists, but the scientists ought to also market themselves. They market themselves on Elsevier, on Nature, and all that. Fantastic. I feel, in my personal opinion, that the academia is the most sustainable unit of the world, because we recycle knowledge a lot. I'm going to publish paper, she's going to publish paper, and the next person that will read my paper, not because he wants to do something about it, but just to look for what I did not do, look for a gap, and then he wants to fill it. You understand? Not because he wants to take the knowledge from the book to action. So I feel that while we market ourselves on Elsevier and all of that, within our community, just a group of people cycling knowledge within the house, we should also, the policymaker, we are making policy recommendations inside scientific journal. Very wrong. Now, I think that we need to go to where the policymakers are in the newspapers. So, politicians do not read scientific journals; they read newspapers. We can discuss the outcome of our research on newspapers. We can engage with the journalists to help us. By the time we market the knowledge that we have, if you go to my country, Nigeria, currently, every single day, political parties are the front lines. Why not knowledge? Why not science? Thank you very much.
Professor Emanuela Colombo, this is your birthday party is going to become a hostage situation. God, he will come and tell you, let my people go. I'm joking.
Oh, but I was, Leslie, I'm really happy that you have. Oh, I agree with Adi, with what he said, but we also know that we have to do many things at the university, and we have also to guarantee the career of those who are newcomers. But I think this is a provocative speech, and I think Guido, Professor Da Silva, also John Battista, and Leslie, we will take care of this provocative effort, and we will try to do a little bit more on the side of our different networks. So thank you again for being with us today. Grazie Massimo, grazie a tutti, and I wish you a very pleasant night. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Grazie. Ciao a tutti. Bye.
Bye
Thank you very
bye.
much.
A tutti. Lui era venuto alla prima coopera, lui era stato